add one thing quickly as you slide through. There's some confusion about the mercury thimerosal issue and MMR. And the one thing I want to make perfectly clear is they're two totally different issues. We believe thimerosal and mercury is an issue. MMR has never had mercury or thimerosal in it because it's a live virus vaccine. So as you go out there and do your research, just be careful that you don't confuse these two issues. I think what Doreen Granpeesheh says is really the biggest thing that I learned in this, is that autistic children really are just children that cannot detoxify all the toxins in their body. So this may start with the mercury early on. We're giving a sexually transmitted disease and injecting it into a baby its first day of life. Welcome to the world. Here's your first breath, and try a sexually transmitted disease you would never have come in contact with until you started having sex at whatever year in your life. It doesn't make any sense. But if we're loading these babies up with this stuff, there's different triggers. Some people reach to say the DTaP did it, but we just know that at some point they hit overload, and the one that's blamed the most is the MMR. And that's why this study is so important. For so many years, people have been arguing my study against your study, and the other side always says, we have 1,000 studies, every study you have. When you have this discussion now, all you have to say is all I've had to say for the last year. You know what? I have your most important study. I have the study that everyone pointed to, me included, in the medical, journalistic world. This is the study we all pointed to when we said vaccines are safe. And now we know this study's a fraud. That's the end of the story.
And we're in Southern California. I'm sure everybody in here followed the stories with the measles outbreak at Disneyland. Is that something that any of you can address and maybe assuage this whole idea of panic there?
I mean, seriously. You even get chuckles sometimes in theater when it says 644 cases of measles. There are 320 million people in the United States of America. There's two ways of doing the math on that. You can either say it's 0.0000002% of society got measles, or you can say the risk is right around 1 in 450 to 500,000 people. Why is that what Sanjay Gupta is talking about, and not the 1 in 45 children that are suffering from autism? This year alone, right around 100,000 children born will ultimately end up on the autism, will be considered autistic. We are building cities of autism children that are going to be adults, and the cost of it will bankrupt this nation. The CDC admits it costs $5 million to raise one of these children. There are now 1 million of them. Just do that math and wonder why your news is not talking about this disease that's skyrocketing out of control. So the measles, and for people to say they're terrified this movie is going to create a return of measles. First of all, we're advocating for a single measles vaccine that could be available tomorrow if the pharmaceutical industry would just do its job. Why do they not? They don't want to let go of the patent. Merck doesn't want to lose its control of measles. They own measles in America unless we break it apart. So they're fighting to hold on to it, and our government's helping them. This is just another story of, government colluding with industry over our health and the rights of us. It's banking. We've seen it everywhere. And you got to talk to your progressive liberal friends that hate banking, and they're upset with Exxon. They hate how senators move over and work for that company. Yet they have no problem being mandated to take faulty products by an industry and inject it into the children. They've just got to make the connection. Monsanto, Merck, same thing, same problem. We need government oversight. We need a real government for the people. And it's time to stand up. It's so important right now. We are about to lose the freedom we have in America. In California, the government now owns my child's body, not me. If I want to spread out my vaccines, if I see research like this and say, I don't think this vaccine is safe, I'm not allowed to do anything about it. The government's going to step in. They're even threatening to take kids away that aren't vaccinated. What country do you want to live in? And they're coming after you too. Adult mandates are right around the corner. So if you think this is just about kids, it's not my problem, I don't have kids, well, guess what? You're next. We have 270 vaccines in the pipeline. They're about to line every one of us up, and you won't be insured. You won't get your insurance unless you're fully vaccinated. And you're all, I can guarantee you, about 49 vaccines short of what your kids have right now. So get ready. That's our future if you want to sit here and just watch this happen, or step up with Robert De Niro, get people out to see vaxxed and say, We are the United States of America. We are citizens of a free country, and we will not let our government collude in corruption with industry any longer. Thank you.
Okay. All right, let's open it up to the audience. If you have a question, please raise your hand and please speak loudly so everybody can hear it.
He's been wanting to talk.
Thank you so much. I feel so privileged to be in this room with all of you, and this movie is powerful. You've been absorbing this for years. We just took in all of your years in about 90 minutes, and it's just overwhelming. But we thank you, and we're grateful for you. I believe so much in what you're doing. I started a private food club about 8 years ago here in Pasadena to try to help people to get the good food in them, to help them do the detoxing. You mentioned this Doreen Grand-Pichet advocates, which I think is beautiful and fantastic. And it's just phenomenal. So we're behind you. We love you. We thank you. God bless you. I want to find out who the guy was that sneezed at Disneyland. That's my concern.
That's a good question. Good question. Right there. Yeah, and then the next behind her. Go ahead.
Sorry. I'd like to know how to buy the film. I already have 3 venues of people that want to see it. I really, really want to say that we all have to really stand up, because most people just believe the nonsense, just like you were saying, and we're being lied to. And if you look at what they're doing with vaccination in Africa, India, and other countries, I believe it's for deliberate harm and depopulation. And people think that's crazy. But here, they've modified it a little by making things a little slower, but there are so many harmful ingredients. Squalene, MSG, aluminum, you can go on and on. All this stuff is bad for us, and we need to do something. But if we don't really get out there and talk to people and show them this movie and talk about other things, we'll all be victims. And I don't want to see that happen.
You're absolutely right. And the only thing I'd say is, some of these third world nations are actually doing better than we are. We have one of the sickest child populations in the world right now. And it's really problematic. We have the highest infant mortality rate in the entire industrialized world, whether you know that or not. We also vaccinate more than anybody else. But what I want to say is about sort of the delivery system, the idea. A lot of people are stepping forward and say, how do I get a hold of the film? I want to screen it at a theater or screen it in the living room. And that's all wonderful, and we plan on doing that in the future. But when I got involved with Andy, the reason I left the doctors and what I brought from that is for, virtually 7 years, I've been delivering medical information to millions of people. And I said to Andy, look, we know how this usually goes. There's really great movies that have been made, bought, greater good, that use a grassroots approach. But what I said to Andy is, I don't see that working. They're great films. The grassroots, are very passionate, but we're not penetrating the ceiling. We're not reaching the 90% of America that are walking blindly into a vaccine choice, not doing their research and investigating it. And so the goal of this film and everything that we brought in and the post-production that was beautifully donated by some very powerful people in this town and made it look the way it does, it's all about theaters right now. Theaters is the advertisement of film. And so you don't make money in theaters. Batman versus Superman is going to lose money in theaters, but you make it once it goes on demand. But what it is it's advertising. And what we need right now is this to be in every theater in the United States, because the mainstream is not online. They're not looking at our blogs. They're not looking in this world. And the pharmaceutical industry knows how to handle that world. They have shut it down. They know how to compress it. We have shocked them. We have caught them off balance. They have miscalculated in how they dealt with us by shutting us out of Tribeca, shutting us out of the Houston Film Festival, by Village Voice canceling all our ads and sending out an email blast that they don't support this movie. All of that helps because all of you are curious and your friends are curious. But what we need you to do, the protest right now is 2 things. You need to contact your Congress people and say, we want William Thompson immediately brought before Congress. Do your job or I'm going to have you fired. And number 2, tell everyone you know to fill this theater. Fill the theater in Santa Monica. If you know people in New York, go to the Angelica. Because as those theaters have success, we're getting calls from more and more theaters. And that's what's going to make this visible, and that's what's going to force CNN, MSNBC, Fox to finally have to talk about this. If we keep it down in the grassroots level, they can avoid it. So that's why we're using the system we are. Within, I mean, it's all happening very fast. I imagine within a month or so, we will be doing house parties and video on demand delivery system of some kind. But please support the theaters right now. This is our campaign.